Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Overlap Podcast with me, Sid Sexton, and my good friend, Keith Glines. Good afternoon, Keith.
Good afternoon, Sid.
And welcome back.
Yeah, it's nice to be back.
Yeah. Keith and I both have been in and out, kind of, I guess, restarting our season and our year. And that's really kind of the foundation of this topic is an experience that I had here recently that I thought was going to turn one way, and it ended up being something completely different. You all know that we're into coaching, right? And probably the whole reason for this podcast is to get a message out to be helpful to others, like others have been helpful to us. And I guess pay it forward or pay it back, however you want to phrase that. So I left one peer group that I was in for a number of years, like 17 years. And that sort of molded me and shaped me into the really the businessman and some other things. It shaped my life. And some of those relationships are just long-term lifelong friendships, and others are just lessons that I learned. But it got to the point where, things were shifting there with that organization. And I thought it was a good idea to switch to a different group. And I sought out someone else, and I was getting ready for this meeting, and they do things a little bit different. We meet on a quarterly basis, and we write a report based on what our action steps were, our last meeting, what progress we've made, and then what now? What is our core focus right now? What are the obstacles in our way, and what is our strategic plan to overcome those? Where are we going to be in the next 12 months? Those kind of things, right? And it probably took me 30 hours to write this report. And really, it forces me to think about my business and my action in it, and how I'm leading, and how we're prioritizing time and energy and effort. And we get there, and it's 2 days of meetings from basically 12 hours of meetings each day. It's like 7:30 a.m. till 7:30 p.m. And one theme kept coming up, and I wanted to make sure that we talked about it today. And these, mind you, these are super smart people that are operating business at a very high level. And I'm not going to throw out names, and I'm not going to throw out like businesses, but 8, 10, 11 figure kind of businesses. And they've been operating in that sphere for a while. And, I'm just the bozo on the bus trying to hang on their coattails and see what I can learn. And we'll actually talk about proximity principle here later. But the one theme that kept coming up was that this is what I interpreted. We all tell ourselves a story, and that story almost always deviates from reality in some way. And we don't see it as hard as we try, and even as hard as we analyze. We don't always see what actual reality is unless we present those ideas to someone that's unemotionally attached to the problem.
That's kind of what does that analogy say? When you're in the thick of it, you can't see
the forest from the trees.
The forest from the trees.
Yeah, it's a bit like that.
And I think the overlap in all of that is we all tell ourselves stories that is not reality in most areas of our lives.
Yeah, for real.
Because we just get in the thick of it, and we think we're working on one thing when maybe it doesn't look like that at all.
Yeah.
Or maybe the perception of others, people don't perceive what we do.
That could be for this instance, and really the experience that I had. I had a good amount of time thinking about it, traveling back, and then the last couple of days, this has been ruminating in my mind.
I know when you got it, like you text me immediately.
Yeah, I know.
You just text me that one thing. I thought you were calling me out on something. I didn't know.
You were like, and then I think you said something funny. I was like, no, this is going to be a topic. It's a good one. So we all tell ourselves a story, right? And these are smart people. And I was trying to figure out, why do we tell ourselves a story? And how can other people see the reality and we don't? And the only thing I came up with, and this was the other theme that kind of kept coming back and back up as the solution, or the what this coach kept telling us to watch out for, was watch out for emotions. If you run your business with a ball of emotion, you're going to be off target, because emotions are terrible directors of energy. And emotions are generally driven by fear and ego. Fear is what drives ego, and then they're terrible indicators of what we should be doing. This is my interpretation. These aren't the exact words that my coach was saying, but that's what he was saying in a number of different ways. As a matter of fact, he said, "Hey, listen, do you think," and he actually said this to someone about their report. He's like, "I see a lot of emotion in this report. Now, do you think that's the best way to run your business?" And, the obvious answer, it's rhetorical, but the obvious answer is, well, no. And he goes, "As a matter of fact, um, Charlie Munger and
Warren
Buffett, they systematically remove emotion from their decision-making process. They gather data and data and data and try to remove the emotion out of it while they're trying to make decisions about who to buy, what to buy, whatever, And he goes, you need to try to do the same. I'm not saying be unemotional about the people that work in there, but if you're going to do the job that you were required to do, which is lead this organization where all those people joined your organization to be led by you, you need to drive the bus with no emotion, or the least amount of emotion."
Think about the
root.
Like,
oh my God.
Think about the root of most conflict in an organization. Comes from emotion.
It is emotion. It's fear or ego.
Because the conflict wouldn't happen if we just talked practical. In reality, because most conflict in an organization comes from not seeing reality like it is.
Right. Yeah. And you're actually hitting on kind of what I was thinking too, is that, number one, at the highest level, I think I need to address these things, or this is where I need to be going. But with a few simple questions, a coach, someone that's unemotionally attached, can go, well, why are you doing that? Well, whatever the answer is, blah, blah, blah. And then, well, what about this? What do you say that your goals and your intentions are? And if you peel that back, I'm not always going after that goal and intention. I'm actually kind of chasing whatever shiny, or whatever seems like I can get to, or whatever I feel like I need to keep this person in check, or defend against that, oncoming business or whatever. And it's driven by emotion. But unemotionally, someone detached can ask you those questions and recalibrate your direction.
God, that's why I have to go to marriage counseling.
There you go.
I mean, the overlap there is that's every relationship.
It is every relationship. And now I was going to actually peel that back and go, okay, why do I get mad at a team member that went to address this thing and not that thing?
Because
I only get mad because I feel like they don't want to do what I say, or something like that.
And most of the time, you don't even understand their real intentions.
Mm-hmm.
So reality is off.
Mm-hmm. And I probably don't have all the facts either.
Right.
All I really should be doing, and I've actually gotten way better at this in the last 5 years, is just go in there without some sort of intent. I'm not going into a conversation knowing what the outcome I think is and then driving towards that, I'm usually just asking questions and going, "Oh, okay. So that's what you were thinking? All right. Well, what I'd rather you do is this. So next time you come across that, let's go this route because this way and then that you're probably going to have a better outcome." And that person goes, "Oh, okay." Instead of a chastising, it turns into a coaching point. Instead of, you know, burning up some leadership capital, I'm building some leadership capital because I'm pouring into them. All because I'm able to be detached and not get sucked in by emotion.
Absolutely.
It's pretty good.
We were
man.
talking to a guy this week that owns a big company.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And our outside perspective
Yeah.
was able to guide him to a place that he wasn't even thinking about going.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, he couldn't see the forest from the trees because in his mind, he actually referenced one of our podcasts about the hero. He's just the hero, and he's been so used to being the hero, it's hard for him to shift gears out of that. And so most of his busy activity that he doesn't need to be doing, especially at the level he's at, is driven by ego to be the hero.
Yeah, when we first started talking with him, I thought he had like a 10-employee company.
No, sir.
And then he was like, I got 150 employees.
Yeah. And growing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so man, that's my take is that we all tell ourselves a story and it almost always deviates from reality. And I don't know that there's a really good way to get lined back up and calibrated back up with reality and get you back on path towards achieving your goals without some detached person that's unemotionally attached to your business, your relationship, your future, whatever, someone that's just there to kind of help you work through your problems and then help you become successful, but they don't really care how you do it. I don't know another way because these were super smart people that had fantastic reports that I was reading in awe, in awe. And this guy just takes them, asks them a few simple questions, and takes, what their stated goals and outcomes were, and just asked them, did they line up with those? And they gave some answers. And when he really peeled it back, it didn't line up. And he goes, well, why don't you just do this? And everyone had a little bit of an epiphany every single time. And it was over and over and over. And maybe that doesn't happen every meeting, and maybe that doesn't happen with everyone all the time, but it happens so frequently that I was like, man, I got to just get this out to our audience so they start questioning, what is it that you're working towards right now? What is your big goal that you think you're working towards? Now, is that the right goal is a question, and you can ask someone that. Is what you're doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, is that helping you get to your right goal? Is that helping you get to the success you're looking for? Or is it actually just feeding ego? Is it actually just whatever,
I think you have to start with that question. What story are you telling yourself
what are you
that
telling
doesn't
yourself?
line up with reality? So going into your group meeting,
Mm-hmm.
what were some of the things you were telling yourself? Or an example.
So I thought that most of our issues moving forward were we need to get everyone, now that we've worked through some positional changes, we've had some software changes, and there was a bit of chaos with all of that, but now we're settling in, and so what we really need to do is just focus on holding people accountable to hitting the goals that we have set. And you say that out loud and it sounds like, oh yeah, well that's perfect. And this coach was like, well, is it holding them accountable? Is that really? That sounds like you're trying to, why do you need to hold them accountable? And I was like, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, why would you need to do that? They should be reporting to you. I was like, yeah, well, they do. They go, well, then why are they missing it? And I was like, I don't know, because I need to hold them accountable. It's like, no, no, no. Well, then you own their job. They don't own their job if you're holding them accountable. This was some of the stuff back and forth. And I was like, I don't really get what you mean. He goes, you either have the wrong person. This is what it boiled down to. You either have the wrong person doing the job, you haven't communicated it well enough that where they understand why it's important and how to get it done, or you got the wrong target for them. It's only three things, you know? And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, how do I figure that out? He's like, well, you're just going to have to talk to them. So your goal isn't holding them accountable. Your goal is just to figure out, are these the right people in the right seats or the right targets? Do you know that they are the right targets? I was like, I think they are. But now I don't know anything. And so, so then I got to like question that stuff. But it was, what he saved me from doing was spending the next 3 months going after these people like a freaking nun in a Catholic school in 1965, with a ruler just smacking knuckles. And no one likes that person, they like the person that's trying to help them become successful. And that's what he said. He was like, Sid, you say, and you know that your job is to help these people become successful. Is that helping them become successful? If you're not questioning, are these the right goals? Is this the right person in the right seat? The system you have should eliminate a lot of this, you holding them accountable, because they own their job. They should be reporting to you. If you are reporting to them, they don't own their job. And I was like, oh man, that's pretty good.
And if you have to hold them accountable, you're really reporting to them.
Exactly.
So now, it's either communication.
You either don't have the right person, you haven't communicated why that goal is there, why it's important, and how they can execute, how they can win with it, executing it. There's a little nuance in there, or it's the wrong goal. And then he says, you have a conversation with them, and they either understand that or they don't. You got to communicate it, or you have a conversation with them about their beliefs. And I was like, well, what do you mean about beliefs? He goes, well, you must believe that we've established that this goal is correct, right? And you say, yes. And we've talked about how, how you can execute that, what you need to do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to make sure that you are successful and you're hitting those targets, right?
Sure.
But you're still not hitting them. So help me understand what's holding you back. And you go, I don't know. I'm not sure. And you go, oh, well, and this is where he boils it down. Oh, well, this boils down to belief. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, you must believe that these goals are voluntary, that these things are somehow not a part of your job description. But I've done everything I can to lay this out and explain it to you. So I'm just not sure this is a good fit for you, because you believe that these goals aren't really important, and they really are. And I was like, oh, well, okay, that's good. And he goes, and that doesn't make you a bad person. That just makes you a bad fit for this role. So we got to find you a different job or a different place or something like that. But I need someone that really believes that these goals are important, and they're going to do whatever it takes to make them happen. And I was like, oh, that's way better.
But I would say in most organizations, it's the latter, or the first thing you said. I don't know that I've communicated well the goals.
That's what he says. I mean, and you know that, I know that too.
Right.
That lots of times. And
I know in the past I've missed that totally as the business owner.
Well,
trying to verbalize and communicate the goals to the people and to my team members so that they could even know what to go after or hit.
Well, how important is it? Is it important enough for me to tell the person just once? Or is it important enough for me to tell them several times, coach them on it on a one-on-one basis, every other week? Is it important enough for me to write it down with instructions and a process of how to get that done? You know, is it important enough for me to shoot a video on it so they can go back to it and easily whatever, How many times, let me ask you this, the overlap here, how many times has your kid not cleaned their room or their bed or something like that, and you go, I told them to, when's the last time you told them to?
Yeah, 3 months ago.
6. When's the last time you showed them how this is the expectation? And now they're still going to do it because they're kids and they're knuckleheads. But like, when's the last time you went up there, worked with them, cleaning the room and showed them, got it to a level that this is my expectation, and got them to be very clear on what that expectation is?
I know. My view on that when I was young was just throw it in the closet.
Oh, yeah. Or under the bed.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not seen.
Right. Now, you can have the belief conversation with them all the time. You must believe that you're still going to get all the privileges and not have to do this work here that I'm asking you. And that's just not happening. So please hand me over your phone, But it was super impactful. The how high a level these people were, and they still told themselves a story that ended up not lining up exactly with what reality was, what their stated outcomes were, or they just couldn't see how what they were working on wasn't going to actually help them get to where they're trying to go. They needed someone to help them recalibrate, which, I mean, I don't know how much that's worth to everyone else, but it seems to be worth a lot to me.
Hey, I want to talk about my friend Ross Sykes at Homefront Lending. He's a mortgage broker that can help you find a home when you don't typically fit in the norm and get you financed. Reach out to Ross at hflend.com. He specializes in mortgage products for first-time homebuyers, veterans, and self-employed borrowers. They are in the business to serve you beyond the transaction. At Homefront, they are always honored to serve. hflend.com.
My good friend Steve Bousquet and his partner, Christine Era, the owners of Green Profit Academy, are super excited about a new product they've got coming out. If you didn't know, they're the authors of Profit First for the Lawn Care Business. And it's a book written by Christine Era. Steve plays a big role in sort of adding to that. But they've got that book. It's already out. But if you're an audiobook listener and you just learn better by listening, they've got the audio version coming out, and I think this is really cool. They've got Christine Era narrating the audiobook, and she does a really good job. I've heard some clips of it. It's pretty fantastic. And Mike Michalowicz, the original author of Profit First, he reads the foreword. And so they've got a book launch that's going to come out on their website, Green Profit Academy, and you should stay tuned for more information about that. They're going to have some giveaways. They're going to have some other special deals going on. But the book itself, the audio book, will come out September 12th. So please be on the lookout for that. And if you need some help with Profit First for your green industry business, please give them a call or look them up, Green Profit Academy. Thanks so much. Okay, guys, everyone knows if you're a business owner, a business leader, or you're just a person in the world needing help with accounting, you need a real partner. You need someone that's going to listen to you and not just plug numbers in to make their job easy to do your taxes. At least that's what I want. I've been through a lot of accountants in my life, and I have yet to find one even remotely as good as Johnny Baranko. He's the owner of Baranko & Associates, and he's the kind of guy that really doesn't manipulate your books to make his job easier. He really is trying to give you insights into your business or into your financial planning world. Whatever your goals are, he's there to help. And so I just encourage you to give him a call. Baranco and Associates. Look him up online. It's barancoandassociates.com, and just see if he can help you. He really is the accountant that I recommend to everyone, even before he was a sponsor of the podcast. So please, if you need an accountant, just do yourself a favor and give him a call.
Well, I say all the time that you eventually get it to a level in your organization as your business grows that you just have to pay people.
Yeah.
That is not associated with your business to come in and look at it. And I see all the time that if someone would do that, bring in a coach, that it could really change the trajectory of where they're going. And it could even mean, and I know that in the past, I've missed it so bad by trying to just save that dollar.
Yeah.
And see it myself that it's made me lose more money.
Yeah.
Where if I would have just paid somebody.
You know, if your business ran, I'm saying the listener, if your business ran profit first and you had a little section just for coaching, you could put 0.5% of every dollar that came in, or 1% of every dollar that came in. That would give you a coaching budget. Now, I will say this, we're talking a lot about coaching, and we're painting all the good points. I've ran into here recently, some coaches that are probably okay, but it's real expensive, and I just don't see the value in it. And I think it's important for us to mention that you need to make sure that you find a coach that sort of lines up with your budget and your needs.
Oh, I think you definitely have to test your coach.
Yeah, ask for references and everything else, and make sure you're getting good value.
And be willing to say, hey, after a few sessions, this just isn't for me.
Yeah.
And don't get tied to that one coach if it's not serving your needs.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that you have to have outside sources, outside eyes in everything, marriage, family, business, looking at what you're doing eventually.
How terrible would we be at jiu-jitsu without Jiba or Chico or Janilson?
Well, we tried that for a couple months. It didn't go well.
It didn't go well.
It didn't go well at all.
I think we tried that for our first 3 years.
Yeah, I think we kind of did.
It didn't work out great.
Yeah. I mean, do you remember the first class that you went to with someone that really knew?
Yeah.
We all looked at each other and was like,
"Ooh, this is magic."
Yeah, and we don't know anything.
Yeah, we should probably know what you're saying, but please, could you repeat that? Because I have no idea the words that are coming out of your mouth.
Yeah, I still ask that.
I do too. Yeah, how bad would your front squat be if someone didn't look at you and go, "Oh, hey, elbows up, put the weight in the heels, get your chest up," and you go, "Oh, okay." And you're not there yet, but you at least know how you should be working on it.
Well, I found out today I was doing the strict press all wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yep, Kelly
Because
totally.
you were pushing or what?
Well, knuckles, where I was holding the bar, how I was holding the bar.
Yeah.
All of that stuff. He kind of changed all of it. He said, Keith, if you would just do this. And he was right. I got a PR.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
See, coaching helps.
Yeah, it does.
In every aspect. I don't know. Could you get a coach on kids? Maybe there's probably someone out there. That one's tough. But, you said marriage counseling, there's coaching.
Yeah.
Business coach, there's coaching. Kids, maybe there's family counseling. I don't know. I probably need a coach there. But jiu-jitsu, that's the best one, man, because you need a coach in oh, man. You're going to get choked a lot if you don't.
Sure.
If you don't have someone that can point it out, hey, you keep sticking your head in here, you're just going to keep doing it.
Right. Yeah. How long did I fall to my hip?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a
long time.
That's a good one. That's funny. Yeah. That one.
I don't know how it clicked, but one day someone that I trusted, and that goes back to trusting your coach.
Oh.
Like, I didn't trust you and Scott. So
okay.
I
don't blame you.
Someone had to come and say that I trusted and say, Keith, you're falling to your hip. I mean, how many times did Scott tell me that?
1,000.
Yeah. And I still did it.
Yeah. Interesting. So maybe that leads to sometimes you have to hear things a few different ways and from a few different people too.
Sure. Think about it.
Mhm. If your wife tells you?
Yeah. What if my wife tells me?
What if your kids tell you?
Yeah, I don't listen.
Yeah, probably not. Me neither.
But if someone from the outside looks in and says, hey,
You're falling to your hip.
you're falling to your hip,
Got
or
it.
you're being mean to your wife. I mean,
Yeah.
she can tell me that all day. I'm like, you're just being emotional, right?
Yeah. You were emotional.
Right.
Not me.
Yeah.
I'm never emotional.
I'm never emotional, right?
Because what I feel seems rational. What you feel, I get to see for what, for what my perception is, and it seems completely irrational. Man.
And so that's basically what you heard this week,
Yeah,
right?
it was.
That, I mean, when someone looks at you and says, is that really what you're seeing?
Yeah. But I think, the way he does it is he's really open to that being what you should be working on. But let's test it, This is what you said you wanted to get accomplished this year. This is what you say you're working on right now. How does that line up? And really with me specifically, he's like, you're just going to be working yourself in a circle if you're not training and coaching these people up where they're hitting it on their own. It's not hold them accountable. It's get them to get to that level and level up. And you're not going to do that barking at them. And I was like, oh, that's pretty good. So accountability is not the thing. It's coaching and training and development is the thing.
Is his philosophy that as the leader of the organization, that should be your primary role?
Well, no, because everyone's at different stages, right? I'm not running a $380 million company. That's a way different deal. So I've got to probably be way a little more hands-on, And so, that comes down to, and you've heard this before, and he says it, show me your calendar and I'll show you what you're prioritizing. Show me your calendar and I'll show you what you're trying to achieve. And if you don't have anything on your calendar, what are you trying to achieve? If you're not managing your time, do you really understand how valuable it is? If you don't have blocks of time for certain things that you are trying to get done, is it really that important to you? Are you really a professional if you're letting your time get dictated by everyone else? Are you being proactive enough on Friday at the end of the day on Friday, or Sunday before the week happens, or Monday coming in 2 hours or an hour before the day hits, and go ahead and planning out the most important things throughout your week and the most important things throughout the rest of the month, and then filling the rest of the blocks in with what comes up? Are you really managing your time, or are you just putting out fires?
Well, thanks for making me feel guilty.
Well,
I just looked at your Michael Hyatt planner that's got a lot of stuff on Friday.
This big.
And I looked at my Friday right now with only things that you've said. So thanks a lot.
Well, I
feel bad.
Well, don't feel bad. Just
I did
try to get better.
Yeah. Well, I've been producing podcasts all day.
There you go.
Yeah,
you don't need to write that down.
I don't need to write that down.
So that was my takeaway, and I thought that I wanted to make sure to tell the audience and make sure that the audience has an opportunity to just question their motives, and really question do you need a coach? And so,
so one of the podcasts I actually produced today was on the Enneagram. And so I was just thinking about, as you was talking, is the story, because I also told myself the story I was telling myself about how I really thought when it comes to personality test said something different, right? And so maybe you need to do that with your employees also, or your team members also, is have some kind of personality test to even let you know, is the goals that you're providing them, are you communicating them in the way that they can understand? Because I think a lot of times, just when about communication, that we communicate the way that we want to be communicated to. Maybe you are just communicating in a way they don't understand.
Yeah, and I think that's where I was saying that earlier too. I don't think you're wrong at all. We're on the same page there. That really comes up to how important are these goals to you? Is it really important is it really important to me that Keith is successful and hits these 4 main targets every week, every month, every quarter, and in him doing so really make sure that we're going to reach our annual goal? Well, yeah, it's really important. Okay. Well, should I take a little more effort than just telling him and then barking at him whenever he doesn't hit those goals? Yeah, I probably should. Okay. Well, how could I communicate to him differently? How could I, I could, like I said, I could have a conversation. I could write out a process. I could work with Keith. So I get buy-in from Keith. Him and I work on the process and come up with it together. So now he knows intimately what the process is. Hell, he helped create it. And then I'm just coaching him on that. Can I talk to him about what's getting in the way? Can we have a once a week conversation separate from him reporting numbers that just talks about what are his obstacles in keeping him from getting there? What's holding him back?
Man, and I know we go back to EOS all the time, but that's where the one-on-one comes in, right? And so you've got to be doing that.
And even bigger than that, that quarterly conversation is even bigger. It really allows you to recalibrate. Do you have all the tools that you need? And maybe you don't, and you're just afraid to ask. Do you have the leads that you need? And maybe you don't, but you don't know where to get them, but you're trying to work harder.
And we've talked about this before. Maybe the people that work for you don't feel comfortable talking to you.
Maybe you haven't created an environment where they're able to talk to you. And maybe all those things are not true. And maybe you just have someone that it's not a good fit. They don't like talking to people, or they don't like computers, or whatever, and it's just not a good fit. Again, doesn't make them a bad person, just makes them a bad fit. And so now you got an opportunity to really show everyone that you're out there to help them by going ahead and helping that person find another job while you're trying to find someone else to fill the role. All kinds of things can happen. But none of this happens unless we really ask ourselves, what are we doing really to get towards the goals we're trying to work for? Are these activities actually the activities that are going to get us to our goal? Do we have the right perspective? And my shift was I kept thinking it's accountability, and what it really was coaching and development. I don't need to be barking at people. I need to be helping people. And I was like, that's way less emotional,
Yeah.
Way less emotional.
When emotions get in the way, we never tell ourselves the right story.
That's right. Okay, so coaches. Do you need a coach? There's a couple different kinds. You got like a small business coach. You've got industry specific. One of those that comes to mind is really an old friend and a mentor of mine is Steve Bousquet with Green Profit Academy. If you're in the green industry, landscaping, lawn care. If you're in the lawn care business, you need to talk to Steve Bousquet. He's fantastic. But landscape business, irrigation, whatever. He's pretty fantastic. I mean, they've got all kinds of little models and they teach profit first. They teach leadership development. They teach everything. They're really good. So if you need an industry specific coach, there are those out there like that. If you're in the real estate business, if you're in construction, if you're in,
technology, there's coaches everywhere.
Yeah.
However, going back to Steve Bousquet, that dude, I was looking at his Instagram. He's like a Renaissance man.
He really is, dude. He's a stone carver too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does all kind of stuff.
Yeah. He did like judo for a long time. He's got a degree in economics. He was a wrestler. Man, he's been running that landscape business for like 35 years, maybe 40 now. I don't know. Yeah, he's an awesome dude. Now he's got a whole new venture with Green Profit Academy. He's speaking at conferences. He had an event a couple of weeks ago that we probably should have gone to, but I've been too busy.
I get it.
Yep. So, any other questions on that?
No, I really like that. I think people need to hear that. I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
Am I living in reality?
Yeah. It's a thin line, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, that's me for today. Thank you for having me on, Keith. thank you for letting me get that off my chest.
Hey, go check out our sponsors.
Please do.
There's some really great people that can help you with whatever you need. Johnny Baranko, Ross Sykes, Steve Busquet. Talk about they're all coaches in their own way. So
exactly. That's a good point, actually.
Yep.
That's a really good point. Keith dropping a knowledge bomb right there at the end where people are checking out.
Bam.
Bam.
Peace.
All right. Thanks. Bye.